People, deluded, I'm back again. Good afternoon, and I hope you're all doing well and safe. As usual, it's afternoon over here in the UK. Depending on wherever you are in this time zone, it could, well, as man said time zone, I meant world, it could be a different time zone. So obviously greetings and whatnot. I hope you're all doing well and safe. It's Friday, so it's, a couple of hours left until, we get a couple of days rest. And if you're an Arsenal fan, just damn right, if you're a football fan, you're happy the Premier League's back. Depending on if I still feel the same way after our game against Leeds on Sunday, ask me then. But I hope you're doing well and safe. We've got a couple of things to go through, We're going to speak about Partey, and that's actually the thing I'm most excited to speak about. Partey's absence, sadly. Obviously, I've seen an article in The Athletic to do with the Kroenke, so I've taken what I believe is a takeaway, and we'll speak about that. Obviously, I would like to speak about what we're going to speak about after we get away from the Partey's. Arteta's thoughts going into the Leeds game. I think I scheduled my Leeds versus Arsenal preview to come out around 3 p.m. So I tried to do you lot nicely in the sense of it will come out after this. You got something else. You see, I try and look after you lot. I hope you're all well and safe, as I said. Make sure you hit the like button. I'm seeing the usual suspects. Big up Ryan. We'll get on to the Leeds game, my guy. And, to be fair, Arsenal haven't shown you anything to have any real confidence with. So, it is what it is. Big up Omar. He's always here. As usual, thanks a lot, Mohammed. It's nice to see you back here. Big up the members as well. Make sure you're checking out the memberships. You just got to hit the join button and then see which membership is for you. Big up Subi. It is what it is, people. 1 second, because I've actually not prepared myself, and I need to. For those who don't know, when you stream, it's advisable to have a YouTube tab up, like another YouTube tab, like YouTube lets you monitor the live. And I always do that just to see, things are going smoothly. So I've opened that up, and I'm trying to come back to you guys now if I can find you lot. What's going on? Here we are. We're back, people. Apologies for that. As I said, hit the like button. But the big news for me, in fact, the biggest news is that, our two best performing central midfielders this season, Thomas Partey, because he's significantly better than everybody, and nobody can do what he does and brings to the table right now. And El Nene, because his chances that have been given to him, say what you want about the player. You could say, like against Leeds, could we have someone a bit more creative? But El Nene's done well with his chances taken. So our two best performing players at a time where we need to win a game, we're going away from home. We're going down, we're staring down a serious negative barrel right now, because we've had two big defeats sandwiched in between the United victory. And as you lot know, the run of games to come, people. So it's a difficult one to not have those, I'm not going to say it's the end of the world, because it's a squad game. This is why I listen, you lot know me. I wanted Guendouzi and Torreira to stay because we're back to square one. But I don't want to talk about all of that. At the end of the day, it's a squad game. There were going to be times both players, if not both, were going to be injured, suspensions, injuries. All of these things are a thing and cause players to miss. So this is why having a squad or a competent squad is important. Am I Xhaka's biggest fan? No. Am I his biggest critic? I wouldn't say I am. But, Xhaka potentially would start. For me, off the top of my head, I think it's Xhaka and Ceballos. It's not like we can do anything else. I think Xhaka is a safe option. I know he was dropped for the United game and his form hasn't been well. But at a time when Xhaka could have went out of this door, Arteta pulled him in, and made him a key part of the side. Ceballos, you saw towards the tail end of last season, the same under Arteta with Ceballos. So I'd believe it's both of those two. And, they both need to perform. Again, we need to get back to winning ways. We all know the break was a well-welcomed one, probably allowed Arteta, us, the fans and the players to kind of not stop thinking about Arsenal, because you never switch off, but kind of stop thinking about Arsenal for a sec, and it's back to business. And it's a squad game. It's a squad game nowadays, my people. So again, I'm not saying Xhaka should be scapegoated or praised unnecessarily beyond it. But go and put pressure on these spaces. Go and put pressure on Partey's spot. Go and put pressure on El Nene's spot, and show that Arteta should have a headache for four midfielders fighting for two places. I haven't spoken about Joe Willock, and again, I can't really say form, and the harshest of critics will say it's only Europa League. We should be expected to do those things, and it's true, but to be fair, Joe Willock can only play the games he's thrown in for. And I'm not saying he's the Messiah and things like that. And again, I think age isn't important and stuff like that, because Xhaka and Ceballos should be hungry. They want to start games. And I think Joe Willock is of that same ilk. Like Joe Willock is probably, when you look at all of our midfield options, he's the one least likely to get significant game time. He's the one, like, if you probably has to, you know, I know Arteta's spoken highly of him in the press conferences and rates him highly and spoken about him before, and clearly he's rated by numerous managers that have played under him. But if Arteta's job is on the line and it's a must-win game on Sunday, I don't think Joe Willock starts, and I don't think he's in the squad, you know. And I think them other midfielders, whether you believe in him or not, Arteta has shown me by the games played that he will lean towards them. So I think with that, Joe Willock's a bit more hungry. Of course, he wants to start Premier League. You know, he wants to, again, who knows if he can play for England, but you're seeing Saka and Maitland-Niles doing good things, and other people, you know, he's lost his place in the under-21 side. The last 2 games for England's under-21s, he's not been called up. So, you know, you need to play regular football, and just as a footballer you want to kick on. You know, many people said he should have gone on loan. I see logic to it. He said he wants to stay and fight. There's an opportunity. Of course Arteta has to start him if he's going to get an opportunity, and I don't think he is. But I'm of the ilk, should we go with Joe Willock purely because, you know, your form's been all right, not that it's been the biggest of games, but you've been relatively all right. I think you're the most hungry, so with that you should grab your chance the most. Again, I don't think he'll throw him into the pivot. You'd more see him in that sort of 10 sort of role, but I think the pivot is Joe Willock's game. Who would you lot go for people? What would you lot's pivots or midfield options be for the Leeds game now that we're down to our bare minimum? We all know Partey. In relation to Partey, it's a bitter blow, but we all knew, you know, we're back to square. This is why I wanted Torreira to stay, people, or I wanted another one, because you need different options. Partey's only one man. We can't just rely on Partey, you know, as much as I love him, because now you see when he's not involved, you know, he has shown me he's going to pick up yellow cards, so there might be a suspension. You know, he's missed out because of injury. What happens? We're back down to our bare bones again. You know, Partey's out with the thigh strain. I assume, you know, kept him out of playing for Ghana during the international break, which is obviously concerning. And it does make me believe, because you haven't got Partey and El Nene, he hasn't really got the opportunity to use that handbrake in midfield or really have any steel. So is it a thing where Arteta now going into the Leeds game, he might say, do you know what, okay. And I know both of those players have played in a 5 at the back, a 3-4-3, whatever formation. But he might just say, you know what, let me go with either a midfield 3, let me try 4 at the back now, 4-3-3, or, you know, something else. And again, if you're looking at, you know, again, we've improved defensively with the formations we've done and the personnel improving and Partey, but again, he doesn't have that. So with that handbrake sort of gone, do you focus more on what Arsenal should be better at? You know, if you was to look at Arsenal's squad, you'd probably say you're better at attacking than you should be better at attacking than defending. I know statistics don't back that up, people, but that should be something we're looking at. And so we think, you know what, we're hardly going to shut out a game here. We haven't got Partey. Do we be a bit more attacking? Do we try and score a bit more goals? Only Arteta knows what we want to do. And, you know, it remains to be seen, people. We'll have to see what happens on Sunday. It's a bitter blow. And again, I'm not too sure on the midfield options. A lot of you are saying, you know, Subi's gone with Xhaka, Ceballos. Mohamed's gone with Xhaka, Ceballos, Willock in the 10. Again, we need energy against Leeds. So I wouldn't necessarily mind that. At least Joe's a bit dynamic. And the thing about Joe Willock as well, we're dying for midfield runners. I'm not saying Joe Willock's amazing and things, but just to know there'll be a bit of that youthful energy, and he might run beyond and he might press for all the rough edges in Joe's play. That's something we need. To be fair to Ceballos, he does buzz around like a bumblebee as well, so it's not exactly fair. Again, by default, Xhaka's got an opportunity. And like I said, Ceballos and Xhaka, you haven't played too much football or done necessarily well this season. So you've got an opportunity. If we win the game and we play convincing, you know how fans are, they'll start saying you've got to be in the team, you know, you've got to take your chance when it comes. You know, Ceballos, forgive me if I'm wrong, people, he didn't go off with Spain, but Xhaka went off with Switzerland. You know, you've seen what it feels like to play regular football again. Make sure it don't, you know, get your spot and grab it, people. You know, put pressure on spots, give Arteta a headache. I do think as poor as we've been, you know, it's too easy to pick a lineup right now, Arsenal. There should be headaches all over the field, people. Leeds got bite to them, and Leeds will give us gaps and holes and things, and it's just down to us to exploit them. I seen one of you in the comments say Maitland-Niles. Devon, big up yourself, man. You said Maitland-Niles can get a look in midfield. You know, he could. And again, I guess it's an option. We're down to our bare bones again. You know, Arteta's spoken highly of Cedric Suarez, and he retains faith in Bellerin. So it could be something for Maitland-Niles. And I would like to see it. You know, we could hardly do a lot worse than that. But I would say, my guy, and I know Arteta for what it's worth, and again, it makes sense what you said. Arteta's spoken highly of Maitland-Niles and spoken of the many different roles he can do in midfield. For me, like you said, and like I've just said about Arteta and what I can see already, I would like Maitland to get a chance in midfield. midfield. But there's got to be a reason, and I'm not saying it to criticise Arteta or Maitland or anyone, why he hasn't been looked at as a legit option in midfield and more so a fullback. And with that in line, is that thinking or line of thinking going to change too much going into Leeds, which for us is a must win because we've been playing poor, because of the run of form we go into? Or we're going to stick more to basics, you know, man, that our midfielders out and out, we're going to do that. Maybe if our form was different and things happen, we might be a bit expansive. You know, that's what, you know, we could try to, it could be a good time to try the 4-2-3-1 like we did against Sheffield, my guy. It could be a legitimate option. I wouldn't mind it. You know, we've still got to be a bit more solid defensively, and that's my only worry. When we should be able to play 3-5 or whatever at the back and a 4, and 1 week do it. Pardon me, people, I need some water. Got dry throat there. That was a bit mad. But we should be able to do it and do it well. You know, you need to be able to play a couple of systems and deviate. You know, you have one central one, and then say we're going into a big game or something, you know, we change it up. I have seen when we've done 5 at the back previously and then we've gone to a 4, and I know I can't be the only one that's seen it. You know, we'll have a 5 and the centre halves will look like a 3. Then we'll go to a 4, and it's like our back 4 are on the ones that played in the 3 the week before or something. They're a bit unsure of what to do. And I don't want any of this against Leeds. For me, the formation doesn't really matter too much. I probably would go with a 5 at the back, but I'd be head over heels if we go with 4. It's about the mentality. You know, I want to see Pete not forcing it, being brave in possession, trying that difficult pass, matching Leeds' aggression, you know, looking like a team that wants to win a game of football. You know, this team has conceded some of the most goals in the Premier League. Is it, you know, going into that with the firepower we have in form or not? Can we say right now we're going to have 10 shots? That's what they should be looking at. If I'm Aubameyang, you should be looking at as, okay, cool, I know a lot of stuff is being said. This is when I start to score some goals now. My season starts. Laka or Eddie, whichever one of you starts, the same logic. Pepe, hopefully he starts because, you know, I don't know if Willian is still going to be involved. And again, it has been a headache for Arteta. Whatever you think about him, you know, it's another headache because you've obviously got potentially Willian missing out, you know, Kolasinac, El Nene, Partey will all miss out. You know, it's getting a bit mad. And none of these things happened at the football club. They were all cool before the international break, with the exception of Partey. So we're going to have to see what we do, man. But I wouldn't mind that. Like in the second half, like you said, my guy, against Sheffield United, there would, you know, with passing the ball a bit more forward and things like that. It's interesting, and you know, I'm keen to see what happens. You know, you can't not float the idea of maybe David Luiz in midfield. I don't think that will happen, but it is what it is. You know, King is saying 4-3-3. I wouldn't mind that. Probably got to get Ceballos. I'll probably take out Ceballos and go with Joe. I think, you know, Nelson and Maitland-Niles and Joe, they're a bit different, but they're a bit too similar. I don't think none of them's going to break their line. You know, Maitland's going to be a bit more withdrawn, as is Xhaka. Joe is going to make the runs at advance, but I think he'd probably have to get Ceballos in there, you know, change it up. I wouldn't mind that, but my guy, you know, is Willian going to travel? That's the thing, you know. If Willian travels, then we can flirt between those options. You know me, I've been saying try Willian in that role. We've got another option as well, you know. We've got Saka, and the thing you worry about Saka, not even worry, you consider, is that it's a must win. If I'm Arsenal manager right now and it's a must win, let's just say I could get fired if I lose this game. I'm playing Saka in some position. I'm playing Saka because he's someone that's going to match that and has played with consistency. But the worry for him is he's played quite a bit of football before the international break. You know, he played more football than maybe us Arsenal fans expected him to play for England, really and truly. Gave a great account of himself. You know, you have to worry about fatigue and things. Now, obviously, there's rest and there's recovery, and, you know, Saka keeps himself fit and he's ready to go. I wouldn't mind Saka in that 10 position. But then who moves to the flanks? If Reece Nelson is fit, I would flirt between the option of Reece Nelson on the left and Pepe on the right. But saying that, we all know it's Aubameyang on the left. As much as I have small hope that things are going to change in terms of people playing in their natural positions, with the exception of Willian in the 10, I guess, because I sound like a hypocrite saying that. You know, I get, that's what I'm saying, John, man. We need legs. You know, I wouldn't mind that. My problem is that's probably, you know, we need to experiment, and regardless of whatever formation we go with or whatever combination, you know, is that none can do much worse. You know, Partey is not there. It's never going to be the first choice. But at the same time, my guy, you know, I don't think Arteta's had too long to train with these players. You know, Willian's been in Dubai for whatever reason. Maitland-Niles has been off with England. Joe's been at the club. But I don't think, you know, have Maitland and Joe had enough time to work as a partnership? And then you've got to consider Willian, maybe considering the fact that we kind of need to grab 3 points, play convincing, all these sort of question marks are going to be, it's going to snowball for Arteta. That's probably too experimental for this game, going away from home against a team like Leeds, probably, my guy. But you never know. You know, yeah, you're right. When Chambers went on, big up yourself, Joe, as well, man. Thank you for your praise, man. You know, again, same thing I brought up, but Saka, you know, about Saka in that 10 position. Apologies, Sam. Remember when we have Chambers as a DM option if he is match fit, did bits at Fulham. Well, he's actually playing today against Arsenal's, well, playing for Arsenal's under 23s against Everton's. So I don't know if he's going to be fit or available in some capacity, or it's even premeditated that he is or isn't. When we obviously travel to Leeds, you'd probably expect he's not. It is an option. I'm not really a fan of Chambers. I don't really feel Chambers in the midfield role, as a defensive mid, but you know, he did it at Fulham. You know, and the problem with Chambers, he's been a jack of all trades, master of none at this club. And maybe his whole time at Southampton, because you hear in the academy he was a centre mid, you know, he got his breakthrough as a right back. That's cool. Come to Arsenal, played a lot at right back, has done well at periods at right back, but has also been savaged. You know, we saw him as a centre half long term. For whatever reason, he hasn't played consistently in that. Like you said, we sent him on loan at Fulham to play games and mainly play as a centre half, but he did bits in midfield, and that also shows his versatility. But for Arsenal, it doesn't quite help. And again, it could be an option, my guy. You never know, man. I don't know how long, you know, I don't know if Chambers is scheduled to get 90 minutes today. This will be his second game for the 23s since his return from injury. So who knows, man? You're right on that, man. You've gone with Chambers, Joe Willock, and Ceballos. An interesting one, you know. That bring David Luiz, DM, and Saliba at centre half. Again, I wouldn't mind it, but it's kind of in line with the Chambers and what I said about another one where someone went with Joe and Maitland. Probably a bit too experimental considering the form we've been in, the pressure and whatnot. So yeah, man. Bad boy footballer, big up on Mari Hutchinson, just going from strength to strength. And obviously through interviewing him and speaking to him, I'm not just saying this, I can honestly say he's a very down-to-earth character. He's a very wise man. He's got a good family around him. He's got a wise head on young shoulders. You know, he doesn't feel in a healthy way he's achieved anything. He's always willing to learn. So when you got that and you've got the ability, I'll always support. And, you know, I'm happy to see he's part of the 23s. Hopefully he gets some minutes today. It'll be a good... it'll be well deserved for him, man, because he's done well since becoming a full-time scholar. I don't know about now, but for under 18s, he was our top. Yeah, he's our assist leader, and he was quite high in the league. And obviously signed this pro deal. And ideally, you want to kick onto the 23s and be in and around it, as have some of the other under 18s. So it'd be a good reward if he could get minutes and follow on from Zach and Mon Louise and, you know, Flores and players like that have been in and around, man. Thank you very much, Superhero, for your praise, man. Slap the like button, as he said. Slap the like button. All eyes on me, said, yo, DG, what's good, my dog? I'm here, man. It's Friday. Just ate some lunch before I come on this, so got the extra spring in my step. Got the sleepiness in me. It wasn't a big lunch, but it's made me a bit sleepy. But we're here, man. We're here. Big up yourself, my JA Tug, man. I'm not too sure about that one, my guy, but I feel you, though. If David Luiz was playing for my club, I'd rather him in midfield than at centre-half. But yeah, man, you know, it could be a thing. But then we're down to our bare bones at centre-half right now as well, so we'll be just creating more holes. But I wouldn't mind flirting with the opportunity of David Luiz in defensive mid. But I think it's too, like I said, it's probably too experimental considering the context of what we're going into and whatnot, man. We're gonna get onto that, my guy. We've got a little schedule, man. We're gonna get onto that. Like I said, get your juice, get your food. You know, if you're doing an assignment or you're working, we're here for the long run. We're there, man. Hey, what YouTube doing me dirty with the title again? Oh my god! And you lot saw this. Really got rid of us of the A. But it's fixed though. We're back, man. Yo, and big up yourself for that, man. You see why I hate YouTube? I'm gonna do up the Twitch thing, man. I'm seeing everyone move over to Twitch and a lot of talk about demonetization and the rest of it. Trust me, Maitland-Niles over Bellerin, but there's got to be some reason as to why Maitland-Niles is only seeming to get an opportunity at fullback when we go with a back five and not really a four. There's got to be a reason. Where are you from? It's always a mad question. It sounds like I'm being G-checked. Man's from around here, cuz I'm what? But I'm not. From North still. And in terms of heritage, Jamaica and Barbados. So, yeah, man. Hopefully, yeah. I think Lacazette will start again. What kind of change? I do think there should be changes. You know, David Luiz should come in. Pepe should come in, but given the context of injuries, by default, I do think it's going to be a mixture of sticking to the sort of lineup we've seen, and there might be some changes. I think with Willian's form and the Dubai stuff, it could be a good opportunity to leave him out. You know, I would like to see Joe Willock get an opportunity. If I had to bet money, I'm going with Ceballos and Xhaka, and I wish them the best. You know, I don't need to be fair with you. I'm not too sure for Joe Willock and Ceballos. As much as I think both of them should start ahead of Xhaka, I more think Xhaka with one of those, if that kind of makes sense, people. Yeah, man. We'll have to see. You don't get it. Like, for me, I don't mind Cedric. I just feel what I've seen from him, and again, like you said, he's not played too much. He's had injuries. I don't think it was a good signing in the first place, and I think he's too shaky, man. Like, sometimes he's looking solid. I'm like, yeah, cool. You're looking like a calm addition. When he does it and then other occasions, it's looking like another expensive mistake, really. I do think people harp on and bandwagon and stuff like you say, but he is a player that really kind of frustrates me still, and whatnot. So we'll have to see, man. First 20. Apologies, people. Let's get on to Arsenal versus Leeds. And you know me, I like to read what Arteta has had to say before the game. So let's speak about what he's had to say. I've copied and pasted, courtesy of Arsenal.com, his press conference on the issues after the international break. Apologies, people. Johan has said, can't lie, I'm not trying to see Dallas and Harrison both spinning Maitland down. Oh man, big up Maitland now. You can't do my guy dirty like that. But apologies, people. When asked on the issues potentially faced during the international break, our manager Mikel Arteta said, yes, it is very unusual and concerning because you have players all over the world, and with the context of COVID, it makes things very unpredictable, and most of the time when it is predictable, it's not good news for them. But I think a lot of the clubs are in the same position, and you have to try and make it as easy as possible for the players, but at the same time, it's not ideal to prepare for football games. Asked on what he expects from Leeds, he said that they will go full gas like they always do, and they have had 2 weeks to prepare for the game. They don't have as many internationals as us, and I don't really expect them to change much. They are very loyal to their principles, to the way they play, and they approach every game the same way, which is to win and to be very aggressive with and without the ball and to try to win. It doesn't matter where they play. What I've seen from them in the last season, it is not a concern about who they play against. It's about what they do. So what does that tell you, people? Again, you know, Arteta spoken about, apologies, 1 second, people. If you're wondering why I keep writing things down, it's because I like to chop and change these for, you know, the people that can't obviously be on the live stream and give them a little bite-sized thing. But what I've taken from that first statement about what he expects from Leeds is what we all know. You know, they're an aggressive side. They're true to their principles. Bielsa has rubber stamped his DNA on the team. They play that way every time, you know, at the detriment and to their success. You know, when it works, they're so brave for sticking to their principles, for getting promoted. When it doesn't work, you know what he said, similar things that were said to Norwich. I've been impressed with Leeds, and I've said it. I like what Leeds have brought to the table. You can tell that, you know, first and foremost, you know, growing up, Leeds were in the Premier League. They deserve to be in the Premier League. And for me, from what I'm seeing from Leeds in terms of what they're doing in the market with someone like Bielsa, obviously for the next season or two, Leeds just have to focus on becoming a stable top team in the Premier League, a stable team in the Premier League. But you can tell they're going to do the things what you've seen with Leicester and, you know, what Everton are trying to do and have been trying to do, and Wolves are now doing and stuff, trying to push on and do other stuff and maybe eventually be in Europe. I'm sure if you're a Leeds fan, you remember when they were in Europe and they were challenging United for titles and all of those things. I mean, you know, Leeds had some ballers. For me, my favourite player for Leeds is probably, you know, Tony Yeboah is slightly before my time. Apart from YouTube, I can't really take him in. I had a lot of time for Yakubu, Yakubu. Mark Viduka, my guys, man. He was a baller. I didn't mind Alan Smith. There's a couple of Leeds ballers. Harry Krul was my guy as well. They had a couple of savages. Did Johnson play for them, the striker? Did he play for them for a point? Obviously, they had, I'm sure they had Aaron Lennon at a point. You know, I pick up Leeds. They deserve to be in it. But going back to the main point and moving away from nostalgia, people, you know, we know what to expect. They're going to be aggressive. We know there's going to be holes, a byproduct. You know, it's maybe extreme, but you look at Bayern Munich, as great as they are, and nobody can match Bayern Munich, but they leave a couple of gaps because of what they're trying to do in pressing the opposition. Bayern Munich leave some holes that a team could exploit. You know, even when they smacked Barca could have scored about 4 or 5. Do you get it? So with that logic, looking back to Leeds now, Leeds have that same issue in that you see gaps. They are are there for the taking on the transition. You know, they have conceded a lot of goals. Their keeper Millier is not the oldest. He has shown his quality in his shot stopping, but there have been times this season he has shown his age. You know, Leeds are not invincible, but you've got to match them. You know, you've got to match their desire to win. You know, half of these players, I'm not going to say it's a highlight of their season, but playing the Cities, the Arsenal, the Liverpools, this is why they got promoted. Not only to bring Leeds there, but they want to play these games, you know, play well in these games, shut these superstars' big money up. You know, if I'm a Leeds defender, I want to keep a Aubameyang in my pocket. You know, I want to make sure he don't score. You know, they're up for that. And you look at how they've played against Manchester City, how they had Pep begging for a point. You've seen how they've obviously played against Liverpool, let themselves down, obviously, to not get anything from the game. But they're there, you know, they have a lot of threats. They've got Patrick Bamford, who's in good form as well. You know, only what Calvert-Lewin, Salah, you know, Jamie Vardy, I think players along them lines are ahead of him in terms of goal scoring. Jack Harrison down that left-hand flank, he crosses it early. You know, what we do off the ball, as Arteta has said, is going to make the difference, especially the transition, the attacking transition, the defensive transition. And for me, what we need from our team, shoot. You know, this team have conceded a lot of shots on target. Have conceded a lot of goals. So in typical Arsenal fashion, I don't want to see us turn up there and not have a shot. If Leeds beat us 2-0 or something, walk away with a clean sheet, it would be typical. But it would annoy me because, you know, it would be us to let players have clean sheets, to let them get positive statistics, have opportunities. You know, this team, and as an Arsenal fan, you cannot read into what's happened with Leeds, because I'm sure Villa lost back-to-back games before playing us, but you look at Leeds, they've lost 4-1 in their last 2 games against Leicester and Palace, I'm sure. You know, 8 goals conceded in their last 2 games. They, you know, at times they do show they're a championship team, as much as I admire them. You know, we need to respect them. I'm not saying anything. You know, we cannot turn up there and just expect to get anything. But we need to make sure we're spot on without the ball. On the ball, we need to show bravery and we need to match their aggression. I know our backs are against the wall with obviously these injuries and the form we've been in. You know, we need to do a madness. You know, Patrick Bamford's moving more clinical than the whole Arsenal team. And the one worry you've got is, if I'm a Leeds player, I'm honestly sitting there like, yo, we've lost back-to-back games, you know, but we're a good side. We're trying to stay in the Premier League. Our season restarts again against Arsenal. You know, we've done well against City, we've done well against Liverpool. They're massively above Arsenal. You know, we've taken both those teams to the wire. We respect what Arsenal have and we respect their manager, but they're there for the taking. They're soft. Let's go and put more question marks. If we score a first goal, are Arsenal going to get back in it? Now, many times, maybe the best thing that could happen for Arsenal is conceding a goal, because I'm sure many of you Arsenal fans see or have seen, the minute we concede, we start going, oh gosh, we need to play football. That's actually one thing I obviously don't want it to happen. That's one thing that concerns me psychologically, because of the goals Leeds have conceded, not for Leeds anyways. I don't really care for Leeds. But from an Arsenal perspective, how both teams react after not only scoring but potentially conceding is how I'm gonna see things. Obviously, Arteta, I wouldn't say Arteta made excuses, but you heard him allude to the fact of their players get called up at international level less than those. Now, if I'm a Leeds player, you shouldn't take it as disrespect, but I'm going to take it as disrespect to kind of G me up. He's not insulting them for obvious reasons. You know, we've got more players in and around national setups right now, you know, so they're going to be a bit fresher. So we need to consider that, you know, again, it shouldn't be a thing, but that's something he said to consider. When asked on the importance of responding after the Aston Villa defeat, and it's important to respond, because you remember him saying, I wish we had a game tomorrow and stuff so we could get this out of the system so he could see how his players reacted. Our boss said, obviously, it's been a painful week, because normally when you have a defeat at home, you want a game straight away. That wasn't the case, but we used that as well to reflect on what we are doing, to analyze why that happened. We were all shocked the way we ended the game, the last 25 or 30 minutes. Before that, it was a different game, but still we have to improve in many areas. That consistency is something we need to get much better at. And after the good result and brilliant performance at Old Trafford, to get that loss was a shock to the system for everyone. But let's take out the positives from it, learn and move on. And, you know, Arteta in the break said he learns more from defeat. And there is a lot of eyes on Arteta and a lot of wolves on Arteta and the players. Not too sure I agree about the segments in relation to the last 25. We were just never in the game. And, you know, you mentioned the result against United. Again, it was good, but it goes back to it's irrelevant in a sense of you need to show that that's normal. And, you know, maybe our players had a degree of, I won't say arrogance, but complacency. They think because they played well at Old Trafford against an under-hit United side, you know, they could talk something, and Aston Villa made them eat humble pie. You know, that's a lesson for our players. You need to apply it. There's no point doing it against United. Like I've said, you know, Arsenal do this all the time. We'll get we'll win a cup. We'll go through the FA Cup, or we'll win a couple of times against United or a big team. And, you know, when you look at them in isolation, they're great. But collectively for our season, it means little. You know, would you rather lose to United and get top four? I'm sure most fans would accept the defeat, myself included. Pardon me. And again, you know, it means nothing beating another top four rival or contender in United if you can't do it against Aston Villa, a team that was struggling to stay in the league last season. Shout out to Villa and their form as well, people. You know, and like you said, they're unpredictable. And for me, unpredictable is something we should fear. We should try and be unpredictable. We're a predictable team. They're unpredictable. We should fear the unpredictable. But I want to see people rise to the challenge. We've spoken about how they start and how aggressive they are and things. Starts well. I know it was a while ago, but you look at the Aston Villa game. Did we start well, people? Start well, or teams will hit you. The only consolation is that Leeds will concede. They can concede, sort of thing. Like us, neither team can defend, sort of thing. You know, we all expect it to kind of be a free-for-all, to be an open game. And to a degree, I want to see that. Make me more... It make as someone watching it be more entertaining, but you know, for the neutrals as well. But as an Arsenal fan, it would make me more nervous. So maybe in typical fan fashion, this is a board draw. Both teams try and set up to defend because they don't want to, you know, they think about the threats. You know, we've got name brand players in terms of being able to score goals. Leeds' players are doing the business. But he's right, we do have to respond, and it can be very lonely if you lose before the international break. We lose again. We play on the Sunday, you know, it's a long Monday morning, you know, and then obviously we've got the Europa League, but it can get very long and pressure can start mounting. As I said at the start, it can become a snowball and an avalanche, better yet. So yeah, man. He was then asked on whether he finds management all consuming, in brackets. He said, at the moment, in the context of COVID, it makes it that way. I feel so privileged to be where I am because I love so much what I do. I love to be sitting representing this football club and having the opportunity to spend time with these players and staff. But I think it's a job where every time you are resolving issues and resolving problems. And to be fair, that's something, as much as I defend Arteta, he has actually done. There's been more been more questions posed this season, historical questions that have been there, and some of his own then answers. He said, if you get shocked by that every day, then energy-wise, it is very consuming. I come in now and I am expecting something to come through the door and give me bad news and having to react because I know it is coming right now. I try to prepare myself and my mood in the morning to say, okay, let's see what we face today and go for it. Good mentality to have. He spoke more about resilience as a manager, and you know what, I was going to skip it out, but maybe we'll read it just based on the form he's in. And Arteta's got to never stop believing in himself really right now, especially because there's scrutiny. He said, absolutely. And how you bounce back, how you navigate through difficult moments, and how convinced you are about what you are doing. And at the end of the day, how you judge yourself on decisions you make and where those decisions are coming at the end from you. It is a real feeling. It is a real feeling. Hey man, the person who's done this Arsenal article has not proofread what they're saying. He said, is it a real feeling? They put do twice, people, in the sentence. So I've had to read it a couple of times, but is it a real feeling? Do you do it for someone else or for any other opinion? Or do you think it is the right thing for the club, the players, or the staff? Then when asked on Thomas Partey, or asked if he could be back, he said no. He picked up an injury very early in the game against Aston Villa. He tried to carry on and he wanted to play the second half, and we knew it was a significant injury. He's done very well. He's working very hard and he wants to be available. Hopefully we can get him back soon, but it's an area where we have to be careful and a bit protective with the player. We do have to protect him. Partey is a key part of our season. He's the only midfielder really that's certified. You know, I'm not going to sit and act like I know things. You know, obviously Partey seems not a difficult character in a bad way, but you know, he wants to play. He doesn't want to come off. He wants to leave it all in the ring. I have to say, why didn't we sub him early doors against Villa? Could we have potentially saved him then? In that regards, could we have saved him? I don't know. That's something to ponder as well. You know, he was then asked on protocols at international level for players. We won't get onto that. He was then asked on Gabon and the Aubameyang situation. There's no point speaking about that. We already know. He was then asked on the reported incidents between David Luiz and obviously Szoboszlai. He said nothing. Training is very competitive and issues happen a lot of the time, but those things get resolved immediately with the team. There's not much to say. And he summed it up perfectly. He summed up what my video said. You know, it's competitive. There's a lot of testosterone. Everybody wants to win. Everyone wants to do well. Things happen, you know. Have your handbags, bless it. You know, like they say in boxing, leave your ego at the door, scrap it out. Shake hands after we go again. If people then start holding feelings and resentment and carrying that in their heart as they go along, then that's not good for the team, people, because it rubs up on other man. But I think he said it, you know, he's more or less told us what's happened. He more or less said there's nothing to talk about. Training is competitive. It happens all the time. You know, it basically got nipped in the bud. And beyond that, I ain't got much to say to you. I think that sentence there sums it up. He was then asked on whether there's an issue between the two. He said there's no problem at all, and at least for now, we wouldn't be told anyways. He was then further asked on whether he saw what happened. He's never going to snitch. He was Arsene Wenger's, you know, an Arsene Wenger disciple. Wenger was famous for saying, I never saw it. And he said the same thing. He said, he kills me. Arteta has said, no, I've got a really bad vision from far away. That's why we train behind closed doors. And yeah, man, I think this happened, but I've spoken about that yesterday, so go back, man. Man said Pepe had a channel. Yeah, Pepe's got a channel now. I'm hearing it. Your girl brought you here. Tell her if she wants to, with a star, she knows who to shout, my tug. But moving away from that, people, like he said, he's got bad vision and whatnot. He couldn't see that. He obviously knows full well, and I think he's indirectly told us. So it is what it is, you know. It's water under the bridge. Footballers fight all the time. Rugby players fight all the time. Professional athletes fight all the time. It is what it is, people. I just hope both players ain't in their feelings. They just keep it moving, and it is what it is. You're hearing speaking of a bloody nose and these sort of things. Obviously, you're hoping that's not the case, but it is what it is, man. Maybe these stories have been exaggerated. Willian, which is of even more interest to me, considering the man was in Dubai and it's made a lot of hysterias and all of these sort of things. On Willian, he said on whether he would play on Sunday after being in Dubai, allegedly, you keep asking, and he sounds vexed. He said, you keep asking me for more and more issues. Whatever happens internally with any issues or things that we don't expect, as always, we will try to resolve them internally. That's been dealt with and explained, and we move on. And you can tell, one thing I've seen very early doors about Mikel Arteta, people, is that he can get frustrated very quickly. He ain't really got the patience of Wenger when he's being asked dumb questions. And I like that you can, again, I'm just interpreting it because I haven't heard him say it. I'm going to listen to the press conference later, but this is just me interpreting it, you know. I think that's a firm and quite a rowdy reply. And that kind of tells you, again, he never said there was no issue at all. He never said that it was sanctioned. Who knows, man? We'll never know the finer details until someone tells us. Personally, on one hand, I think Willian, as I've said, was sanctioned to do what he wants to do and go out there, especially because we had days off, allegedly. On the other hand, if he's done that and put himself in a difficult position from an experienced player, an underperforming experienced player, you've put yourself in the headlines unnecessarily. So, yeah, he was then further pressed on whether Willian let him down. He said, we had a conversation and I explained what I expected. And I think that's telling, because he said he could have said no, he didn't, but he said it. He said, he said it there. He said, we've had a conversation and I've explained what I expected. There are a lot of personal factors at the moment, and as well from our side, we need to be in their shoes. A lot of players are having different issues, like any person out there, and sometimes they make decisions based on the needs of the moment. Maybe his family wanted a holiday, maybe he needed warm weather, or what people are expecting from them, whether they are right or wrong. It's a thing that we have to discuss, but it's been dealt with in the right way. So let's move on. And that probably tells you it might have been unsanctioned and might not have been, you know, with Arsenal's blessing, people, and could have potentially aggravated Arteta. And I won't say Willian's lost his trust. You make mistakes, it's happened, and we'll never know the reasons. Is it family reasons? Is it marketing? Was he told he could go or believed he could go? He believed he could go and he actually couldn't, you know. Was he legitimately allowed to go? Was he given days off and then just flew out? You know, he's given days off. You don't really have to report to anyone or anything. Did he just say, you know what, let me go? And then it's unnecessary. He was then asked on whether Joe Willock should start. And I think, like we've spoken about, there's a good opportunity for Joe there. I think he will go with Xhaka and Ceballos. But, you know, Joe's worked well. He's deserved an opportunity. If he doesn't take it, then he goes back to the, you know, to the line in terms of opportunities and waiting. But the man himself has said, I mentioned with Joe that I've been really impressed with him, the way he's handled the situation of not having much game time in the Premier League. I haven't seen him train like he's done in the last 5 or 6 weeks under different circumstances. I think the reflection of that is the way he's playing in the Europa League when he's had minutes, or the Cat Yarabel Cup in this case. He has a chance like everybody else to play on Sunday, and, you know, we'll see. He was asked on Eddie Nketiah. He said he's another one that is fighting and knocking on the door every day. I really like his mentality. He's cultured. He comes into the training ground and he says, I should have scored 4. So that's the type of ambition and hunger you want from our players. So again, with both of them and some others, I'm really happy. Now, for me, educated guess, you know, with the injury suffered in midfield, Joe has a chance. But if you had to bet some money, you could say Eddie Nketiah is more likely to start. He's actually kept Lacazette out of the team. If Xhaka and Ceballos are fit in a Premier League game, it remains to be seen if Arteta will elect for Joe Willock ahead of them this season, because there's been opportunities he's kept some out and he started them. Like, remember Joe last season, forgive me if I'm wrong, did he not start against Manchester City away? So make of that what you will. He was asked on Pep Guardiola's new deal, and obviously he's going to say he's pleased for him and whatnot. Obviously, Arteta's also always been quite critical on the need for 5 subs and rest, and you can see a lot of managers, and I think the Premier League needs 5 subs, people. I think we need that. You know, the players are dropping like flies, and it's no coincidence. No preseason, competitive fixtures schedule, bunch of preseason, bunch of international games which are irrelevant unless it's an official qualifier for something. You shouldn't be playing in it, and you're seeing it, people. He was asked on whether we're asking too much. Obviously, the footballing world, he said, it is really demanding and it's never been done to play the amount of games that we have to play in a calendar year in the history of football. Obviously, we know the consequences of that. And the only thing from my side that I would demand to the Premier League and to the broadcasters is, let's protect the players. At the end of the day, this industry, yes, we do it without being together in the room. We're doing it training individually and doing it without having the possibility as the manager to speak to them all in a room. And we've done it without the fans. But guys, we need the players. We have to protect them as much as possible. They are the protagonists of this whole industry, and they are. You know, if they don't do the business on the football field, you know, if Ronaldo don't do the business on the football field, you know, nobody cares really and truly to a degree. The players make the game, as we know, and they're exploited a lot. What footballers make are pennies compared to the clubs. And I would think if people understood it and saw it, they'd have a bit more sympathy for players, or if not necessarily sympathy, a bit more energy for other players, people. He said, if you have to modify the rules and make them a little bit more flexible to get them a better opportunity to be fit, and it's not just physically, I mean mentally as well, then let's just do it, please. And then obviously he was asked on the Premier League 5 rule. I won't bore you with the paragraph he provided, but yeah, you know he's very keen on the 5-man rule. He was then asked on, is Willian traveling? He said the situation has been resolved, explained and dealt with in the team and the club. That's all I can say. And, you know, Willian might not be traveling. He might have to sit this one out in line with discipline. He probably is traveling, in my opinion, if he has tested negative and all of these things. And maybe a bit of it is less to deal with. Let's stop thinking about the internal rumblings and problems Arsenal are currently facing, people, and focus more on, you know, you don't really want to tell Bielsa exactly who you've got. This is a man who, you know, who flies drones. You kind of want to give him, you kind of want to play coy any small opportunity you get, people. So yeah, on Bukayo Saka, and again we spoke at the beginning, you know, about, you know, he's played a lot of football before the international break and for England and done quite well. Will he get a chance? I think he should play regardless. He said, well, I have to see today when he comes back how he's looking and how he's feeling. Obviously, he's a 19-year-old kid and he's played a lot of football in the last few months, and we have to protect him. I understand from Gareth's point as well. He had an injury of Chilwell and he probably didn't plan to give him that many minutes, but circumstances forced him to do it, which I believe as well. From my side, it's not ideal, but if I was in Gareth's shoes, I would have done the same. It is what it is. Let's see how he comes back and try to get him fit and recovered and see how he is for Sunday. On Pablo Mari, you know, Pablo Mari's barely played for this football club. He said he's really looking good in training. Obviously, he's had a difficult surgery. He had a screw. And sometimes when you have an external body, inside, it can react in an unexpected way. And it was causing some inflammation and irritation in the joint all the time, and his ankle was swelling. So there was complications around his rehab and around his surgery, people. You know, it clearly, I have to assume, you know, he got infected, and that's obviously going to push you back even more. And that's going to lead to calls when us fans were like, hang on, didn't you tell us end of September? So there's been setbacks. I would say for the club, why couldn't they tell us a bit earlier? Because then it you know, we need dialogue. When Arteta and people first came last season, it felt like there was a bit of, I wouldn't say there was a clear communication channel, but it looked like we was getting a bit more dialogue. Again, if you tell fans what's what, they stop saying things. But hopefully Paulo Marie is back playing properly. You know, this is a man's health. Hopefully the ankle is fine and he can firmly focus on getting fit, match fit and playing. So yeah, he's been out. Apparently he's working really hard and he looks good in training. When asked if he has a role in the first team, he said yes, he does. We've been hit really hard with some big injuries, not only Pablo, but Cedric as well. Since he's joined, he's had 2 or 3 different incidences. Gabby Martinelli has been out for such a long time. Chambers got injured 3 weeks after I was here, and he hasn't played a single game. He is still recovering. It is what it is. What I can say is that the approach of those players and the way they've been trying to work to get back to their best has been phenomenal in all cases. He was further pressed on Willian. He said, I don't, and if Willian actually broke club rules, he said, I don't confirm anything, only that it was an issue that's been resolved, explained, and let's move on. So again, in terms of David Luiz and Ceballos and obviously Willian, these sound like true stories, but we don't want to add more fuel to the fire, give people more clicks than we need to. Well, seeming like, you know, you lot make up your minds, leave it to people like me to speculate and provide talking points, and you lot to comment. We're going to leave it on that. And I'm not being funny. If I was Arteta, I'd be doing the same. I'm trying to focus on Leeds. You know, I don't want to have to be answering the same old question about, you know, about people in Dubai and a bust up on a football field and even transfers. I don't even want to hear about transfers unless I'm talking to people at this club that make things happen. I don't want to be spoken about in transfers. I'm just trying to deal with the Leeds game. And as you can tell, there's a bag of things to consider. He was then asked on keeping a grip on discipline. He said, it's impossible because we have so many rules, so many guidelines that we have to follow. Sometimes without even thinking, you can break them. Even in training, when you give a bib to someone else, you think, oh no, I cannot do that. The bib has to be here and someone has to come with gloves. Sometimes you don't even know you're breaking the rules. So let's just try to think that we are all very aware of that and we are dealing with it and we take it very, very seriously. Everyone can make a mistake. It's just where that mistake's coming from. I think that's the relevant thing. He was asked on Cedric finally, people, and he said, I've seen a big change in Cedric in the last month or so. I think his performances in the Europa League have been much better. He needed some time to adapt to our way of playing. And most importantly, he needed his fitness levels to be at a standard we need. That was impossible because he had some injuries when he came here. He had some really bad injuries, including to his knee. After he broke his nose, he's had some difficulties. But again, he's a lad who's trying really hard every day in training. He's accepting the situation and he's fighting against it to prove us wrong. And we'll try to provide him more opportunities. And that prove us wrong thing is interesting. It's always what I say in a sense of, you know, prove them wrong, you know, prove why you deserve to start. And I think that's what he means, you know, prove why you're not a first choice option at the moment. But, you know, that prove us wrong. We could speculate. Did some people at this club not believe in your credentials? Could that be eligible, you know, applicable to the fans? Who knows? But that's all Mikel Arteta had to say. If you don't know already, bite size for the injury status of our players. As you lot know, Thomas Partey has an injury to his left thigh after being replaced at halftime against Villa. He's continuing to be assessed, but he'll be unavailable for this weekend's match and will continue his rehab. You know, as we've just said, Marie is still progressing well and now integrating into full training. Positively for Gabriel Martinelli, and, you know, he's had a serious injury after suffering it in training to his left knee. Apparently, he has also progressed very well, is working very well in group sessions and aims to integrate into squad sessions over the next 2 weeks. So potentially he could be back slightly ahead of schedule. We've got to take it easy. Probably he's got to play 23s and just take it easy with him and allow him to get at his best. He's been out for a period, but, you know, I'm keen to see Martinelli back, and I'm sure you're all seeing Martinelli. He's looking hella wham now, and, you know, he's going to be an animal one day. So we'll have to see what happens. And obviously, El Nene and Kolasinac are both out, sadly, with COVID issues. Trust me, my guy, I cannot wait until he is back, people. I really cannot wait. So yeah, man, that was a bit of a long read. We've got another long read in a second, people. Let me see what you lot have been saying. Do you think our players lack discipline? No. But no, my guy, we're going to have to see this season. Best case scenario is obviously fourth. Worst case scenario is obviously fourth. Anything less than fourth, Arsenal fans aren't really happy. We, as a club, we need the finances from Champions League. That is our immediate ambition and what we need to do. So just that, man. That's it. I haven't actually said a prediction. That'll probably be in my preview, but I think 2-1 Arsenal. That's with my heart. So you didn't miss anything. You missed the artificial grass. It's still technically here, my guy. I apologize, man. It is what it is. Would I take a draw and 2 wins, Wolves and Arsenal, 7 points? 7 to 9 points would be good. So yeah, why not? Good choice, Rio, man. What else you lot saying? Big up everybody locked in. Please make sure you're hitting the like button, people. Make sure you're checking out the YouTube memberships as well. What else have you got? Big up yourself, my guy. Would you take Rodgers? Nope, not at this moment in time. Shout out to Brendan Rodgers. He's doing his thing. So yeah, man. Should Joe start? I wouldn't mind Joe starting, to be fair, man. I don't think it's obviously it's not putting his name in the right thing. Like, it's, you know, I haven't seen Ceballos put into more positive headlines. You know, he's making more headlines for that, but I don't think it's a problem like that. He does assume himself as being a bit of a fiery character, but I mean, Eddie moved him up, and obviously, you know, for whatever he's done to David Luiz, who I have down as a cool customer, he's made him kind of vex. So what can I say, people? Like, what can I say in that regards? He seems to, I do think it was him, man. It is what it is. I'd probably go Ceballos. I'd probably go for Ceballos and Xhaka, to be fair, but I wouldn't mind Ceballos and Joe. I really think Joe should, or maybe Xhaka and Joe. I think Joe will be the one to start, to be fair. I think Xhaka will be the one to start, and it's either Raw, but who knows, man? Who knows? Either way, it puts us at a stress. Doesn't make things easier for us at all. And that's it. That's it. You know, who's disliking the vid? Aye, man, get the like buttons up. Whoever's disliking it, you know, it's some hating thing. It don't matter, people. We keep going, man. The haters can't stop the thing. You know, let's just focus on what actually matters. We're here. We're enjoying ourselves. We're talking about Arsenal, man. It is what it is. Please don't spam. Moderators, please pattern off the team, please. Thank you. I think it would be a case of favoritism. Every manager has favorites. If I'm a manager, I'm going to have favorites. I would openly tell my players I've got favorites. My favorites are the best performing players. Generally, people, you know, equality. Everybody should be treated equal. No, everyone should be treated fairly. It doesn't mean everybody's equal. You're fair. You're not discriminated against. You're all given an opportunity if you train hard. But I will have favorites. My favorites are the ones that show me consistency, which none of that applies to Willian. And it also goes to a negative way. There are favorites, and clearly Willian is a favorite of Arteta, or he might not be a favorite. He just would rather concede going with him than Pepe, in which is a case of stubbornness and whatnot. So it is what it is, people. Please stop spamming. I've just answered your question, my guy. Calm down, man. You have to hold a time out for that one there. But yeah, I know a lot of you, you know, I don't know how many of you are signed up to the Athletic and things like that, people. But, you know, when's a member stream? Soon coming. Are you a member? If you're a member, soon, man. Thanks a lot, my guy. It means a lot, man. It really means a lot. That's it. You know, nothing wrong with having favorites until it crosses over into something it doesn't need to be. From what I've seen from that young Brazilian lad, he looks all right, but I'm not watching him week in, week out to have a mad educated opinion, my guy. So that's what I feel. But like I said, I don't know how many of you are subscribed to the Athletic and stuff like that, but they gave out an article, or produced an article on the Kroenkes, or on specifically Stan Kroenke, and I read it. It was quite a good article, one of the best I've seen on that app for a while. I haven't been too happy with the articles or the standard of articles. It was a very good article, and I kind of just took the relevant parts. Now, I'm not gonna lie, a part of it did feel a bit how do I make it make sense? Like PR-y, a bit aimed at, you know, making the Kroenkes look well, and the fact of he cares more than us fans think he does and whatnot. But yeah, man, you know, even down to things like this, apparently he attended 14 games, you know, apparently in one Arsenal season, he attended 14 matches. Apologies, let me bring this back a second. Yeah, so as I was saying, people, just making a mental note, like I said, it was designed around helping them look good and stuff and whatnot, in my opinion. Apparently, in one Arsenal season, he attended 14 games, home and away, as well as Josh and Stan's wife, and as well as his wife and kids, essentially 14 games. And I think Arsenal, we would have. Again, apparently the vibe I got is that he's it's like he cares, but he's a silent guy. He doesn't want to be known. He doesn't want people having a clue. He's more concerned with silence than shutting up opinions and things said about him, people. So we'll have to see. Interesting point. You know, it could be propaganda based on stuff like that. American-based company. It could be a wording, you know, filtering them through to Arsenal and whatnot. You have some sense there, my guy. Big up yourself for coming a member, my guy. It means a lot. I really appreciate that. But going back to this, as I said, it did feel like a bit of a propaganda piece. Probably the best key part of information, and we're going to speak about him soon, is apparently the Arsenal ownership are prepared to make further investment in the team. And apparently Szoboszlai is a name already under discussion with the technical and hierarchy staff. So, yeah, man, there were some good things. But as I said, you know, literally copied and pasted the things I felt were of most relevant. Stan Kroenke has attended Arsenal matches more regularly than reported. And this is courtesy of Athletics findings. KSE, his company, have a small network of trusted activity they use to monitor activity at Arsenal. So it does a scheme of thing that, you know, like I got the language of they're saying Kroenke does care, but he can't be there all the time. So he's got a team of trusted people who he thinks has the same passion and whatnot for him, and they act with his best interest. So if anything, kind of, they're the guys you need to get at. He said, apparently, at no point during the Wenger reign did the ownership turn down a direct request for funds from the manager. I don't necessarily think that's true, and I think it all depends on how you the terminology used around asking for funds, people, personally. And this is where you're probably looking at Arsene Wenger, apologies, people, and saying, you know, why don't you make your own book and talk the things, because you're being done dirty, sort of thing. You know, they're doing you absolutely dirty. People, I don't know why, but my Google Translate is moving, not Google Translate, my Google Docs is moving mad and made everything smaller. But yeah, which I'm not too sure. Apparently, as we know, the decision to sign Nicolas Pepe was made at a barbecue at Josh Kroenke's Los Angeles home. The ownership made certain financial guarantees in case the club was not able to sign players to fund the deal. The players' pay cut was not a mandate from the ownership. Executives made a presentation to the squad using the image and the analogy of a sleeping bear. So that was an interesting one in relation to how the players found out about wage cuts and stuff, and the analogy of a sleeping bear, and also the fact of, you know, Pepe was discussed over pleasure. You know, who says you can't mix business with pleasure and have a barbecue while dotting the I's and T's? As we already know, this Tim Lewis brother, who was allegedly a boyhood Arsenal fan and a trusted advisor and friend of Kroenke's, is acting on his behalf. And it's no coincidence he's come in. There's been an audit and there's been a streamline of people's roles. Hopefully there's more of a push to move people on the playing staff that are not good enough. But apparently Tim Lewis is now a boots on the ground presence for the Kroenkes. He has visited London Coley to observe training and was the man to tell Raul Sanllehi he was fired. Another interesting one was in the summer transfer window, Arsenal attempted to use an installment-based payment structure to land two of their top three targets from Partey, Aouar and Jorginho. Obviously, I'm sure we didn't want to pay the initial asking price or release clause for Partey if we could avoid it. But if you look at those three names, installments for the latter two, release clause for Partey. As I've said, apparently the ownership are prepared to make further investments in the team, and Szoboszlai is a name already underway. So I think this article was really just aimed at reaffirming Stan Kroenke's commitment to Arteta and Arsenal, his passion for Arsenal, and that he's a misunderstood man and somewhat playing our imagination in the sense of we're not exactly happy about our transfer window. We're not exactly happy about historically the level of our playing squad, but the intent that we're on the case to sign new players and stuff like that and address areas. We've also heard last week or whenever, that David Ornstein said we're well ahead of our planning for summer 2021, you know, so whatever players they are, whoever, you know, I'm keen to see. And I wonder if, you know, how much is impacted as a consequence of qualifying or not qualifying for the Champions League. Would love to see who's been moved on and who's going. So yeah, apparently Stan Kroenke is said to have been ecstatic over the performance of Thomas Partey in his performance against Manchester United. Apparently the Kroenkes recognize that when it comes to sports ownership, actions speak louder than words. Be excited. Be excited for what? Remember when we was told that 2 years into their time as Arsenal's sole owners, so owning the club outright, the presence of the Kroenkes is starting to be more keenly felt, apologies. And obviously it is, they've got rid of people that were, you know, figureheads in their own right. You know, they're bringing in more of their men, they're bringing in more yes men, of course, and you know, it's looking more like a business than a football club each and every day, unfortunately. And now they solely have ownership to this club. It's a bit upsetting, of course, when you're seeing, you know, you're seeing a lot of businessmen come out and saying they want to buy Arsenal. Usmanov tried, you know, the fact of, you know, Arsenal should be an attractive proposition. We're a London-based club, you know, we've got the Emirates, you know, we've got the fine history. If somebody just gave a crap about wanting to challenge, then, you know, there could be so much things being done. But as long as the Kroenkes are a part of this club, I don't think it's going to be a thing. And like Agent Ghost said, it's just PR BS, really and truly, in my opinion. Seeing is believing. I was told be excited, I was told be this and that. I haven't seen you really back Arteta, really. For all Arteta's criticisms or things you can say about Arteta, people, you know, if you was employing somebody who's going into a role who you believe in and you feel's got all the potential in the world, but they've got no experience, you know, would you give them a summer transfer window like that? Do you feel on and off the field you've given him all he can do to hit the ground running? I'm not too sure. That's it, man. They're looking for brands and investment, man. Is what it is. Is what it is, man. I'm not gonna buy any of this crap, but you know, I don't think every problem is down to the Kroenkes, but fundamentally, you know, it's down upwards. You know, the mentality. If you were on a winning team from the top, it would be different. You know, you're not on a winning team, so it is what it is. Moving away from that, though, apparently, well, we already know there's no point speaking about that. As you lot know, in spring of 2018, Josh Kroenke relocated to London for 8 weeks. Apparently, up until that point, the executive's contact with the Kroenkes was not day to day. And I'm not saying you need to speak day to day. Let's be realistic. You don't need to speak day to day, but the dialogue, there should be more consistent dialogue between them. You know, for me, if you're over silencing and there's not really dialogue, do you necessarily care? You know, have you got a keen interest? Not from a business proposition, because we all know Arsenal's probably a banging business. From a sporting thing, it's a myth, people. So yeah, apparently their most frequent point of contact was to Margot Collins, the communication expert who forms an invaluable part of the KSE infrastructure. Collins, who has joined the club on pre-season tours in the past, is said to monitor and understand the dynamics within Arsenal. He has attended many board meetings and provides a pair of eyes and ears for the Kroenkes as they balance their various commitments. So another boots on the ground, and simply, like Tim Lewis, just another snitch and another your sort of man, so that you're controlling things without necessarily being here. Are they sporting men as well as, you know, smart in whatever industries and disciplines they come from? I don't know enough to tell you the answer, but I'm pretty sure you know my uneducated opinion, people. Apparently a close source is, you know, Colin is part of a small trusted network that Stan keeps close, that's born out of Stan's background. You know, 50 years ago, as a real estate developer, you're out there on your own with a vehicle and a phone. He's comfortable with a small group of people, but that's why it's interesting that he chose to get deeply involved in a business that requires you to be around a lot of people. Stan wants to win, but not at any cost. While some felt that they may have held the club back, there are also staff who are very proud of taking that approach. Kroenke is a successful businessman and has always been determined to apply those same business principles to his sporting teams. And again, I think I speak for most Arsenal fans, all Arsenal fans, when I say we would like it, but we're not crying out for you to buy Mbappe, to buy Neymar, to buy this, to do all of these things. We know with the financial issues of COVID or failing on the football field, there are things that you can't do. We're just saying, when there's obvious things, help. When you see a Szoboszlai for 25 million, we shouldn't sit here and some man shouldn't be saying, yeah, Arsenal have peas, yeah, Arsenal don't. We should be going out and getting that. It shouldn't be either or Partey or Aouar. You should be getting both them, if not the players, the playing styles, just addressing areas when they need to. Where a static Partey came, you know, we've needed that. I'm not comparing him to Vieira, but that's been there since Vieira times. If you've bought this club in 2007 and become whenever sole owner, you should know the roles that need to be addressed, and you should show a desire. Still, we're talking about the same things. So I get it, not wanting to win at any cost, but when it's simply been a case of just simply addressing areas, you know, to save yourself, it would be helpful. And I know he's not running everything, but sometimes we've penny pinched and it's cost us in the long run. When you sign people like Willian and like Socrates, and to a degree Luis, regardless of how good he's been at times, you know, you're going to pay 10 times over because you're having to buy again. You know, you're having to buy a next man because you need to address that area anyways, and another replacement. So it's a bit of a mad one. You know, this is, again, it just seems like PR. Apparently, he's willing to invest when he sees a clear business logic. The ownership were involved in Arsenal's acquisition of StatDNA and had contact with Mr. Rosenveld, prior to the deal going through. Kroenke helped the club acquire a new CRM, which allows the club to communicate with its members in a bespoke manner. He backed the club opening a store in Brent Cross in 2012, but also saw it close down a couple of years later. That is indicative of KSI's approach. They are willing to back executive judgments, but it had better work. If they do not pan out, they will correct that, of course. Apparently, in relation to Wenger in the market, remember all Wenger said in the market in relation to financial constrictions, he said, I did that sometimes against my own deep desire. I did it even though I didn't completely agree with what was going on. I did it even though people inside the club sometimes let that noise come out. The Athletic is told, however, that at no point during Arsene Wenger's reign did the ownership turn down a direct request for funds from the manager. If there was internal frustration about a lack of signings, it intended to be directed at Wenger rather than the ownership. So that's another interesting thing, people. Really interesting. Apparently, Arsenal's executive team flew to America to meet with the ownership to discuss the budget of the 2018 summer transfer window. The trip included a tour of the LA stadium development, which impressed the Arsenal's executives. Their intention was to lay out the squad building plans with potential investment levels set against different possible outcomes. The meeting did not go well. Sources have suggested that Arsenal's executives felt wrong-footed and that Kroenke felt cornered and reacted angrily. And apparently some have suggested that KSE's terms was relatively mild grilling. The meeting was tough, but not so impolite that you shouldn't handle it if you work in football and you are speaking with a billionaire. So again, no matter what you say, executives and whatnot, at some level, they're always going to be crippled by Kroenke, and Kroenke doesn't want to win, so we can't do anything, people, really and truly. So we'll have to see what happens, people. Apparently, since Kroenke's appointment with Arteta's been appointed by Kroenke, he's only spoken with him over FaceTime. So again, if you care about the club and you want to win and you want to do stuff, and surely you link a man, and I know there was COVID and stuff. In fact, there wasn't, because it was then. Surely you look a man in the eye. I get that you believe in other man's decisions. I would listen to if Josh said, cool, we're gonna get Arteta. If Raul said this and that, I'll be like, cool, you give me every reason for him, I sanction it. But I would want, if I'm the owner of the club, I'd want to have a meeting with him, look him in the eye for all the tactics and all I hear you lot say about him. I want to look this man in the eye, hear what he's got to say, see the sort of man that he is as a person. That tells me you don't care. If you really cared about a football team, you wouldn't have to say this, people. So yeah, man, it's an interesting one, man. Apparently, people, in relation to the transfer market, there was optimism that they could find a way to structure payments that they could land 2 of their top 3 targets, Partey, Aouar, and Jorginho. They ended up obviously with Partey, but Chelsea's Brazilian midfielder was not simply a backup option. He is greatly admired by Arsenal's technical staff, including Arteta. A former Arsenal staff member suggests the Kroenkes are good owners as long as they have the right people running the club, which they haven't. If your philosophy entails giving absolute trust to your executives, it becomes all the more essential you make the right hires. Apparently, the injection of funds for Partey... What's going on here? The injections of funds for Partey signing is not necessarily an isolated incident. The Kroenkes are aware that there may be similar market opportunities in the next 12 to 18 months. They are understood to be aware of the current market, and there is awareness in what can be done in the current market. Apparently, cash is key. Dominic Szoboszlai, who has a 25 million release clause, is already the subject of discussion among the technical and hierarchy. Apparently, one former executive said, I think the Kroenkes love Arsenal. I just don't think they tell people. So what does that tell you, people? Am I really going to be the one to do it? You know what the Kroenkes are on. You know the Kroenkes are not serious, people. You don't just know it. Pardon me. Make of it what you will, people. That was a lengthy one. Literally, I'm not one that's gonna fall for anything they've got to say. Seeing is believing. I don't think they've done anything. Big up, Emma. I was wondering where you was. You said YouTube done me dirty. YouTube's doing the whole team dirty, my guy. Don't worry, man. Both areas are essential. We need someone that can pass the ball. We need someone that can break a line. That's how a football team works. And that's also true. I wouldn't say it's necessarily not being backed. I wouldn't include Luis and Suarez and whatnot. I don't know if he's directly responsible for giving extensions or giving out deals, but what I will say is they probably wouldn't do it without his blessing if he didn't want to make them part of the team. The same goes for everyone. And I mean, you know, Willian's just been poor in all aspects. I get that, but, you know, he has to face the music. He's been 10 games. I know a lot of heat is facing Willian's way based off the Villa game, but he hasn't looked good all season. Even against Fulham, that performance is overstated. So it is what it is, man. Please stop spamming. It's going to be a blocking thing if you do spam. Moderators, please, you're continuing to pattern. Keep patterning it up, man. Simple as that. Simple as that. Come on, my guy. Big up yourself. Big up everybody locked in, man. Big up everybody locked in. Of course, man. Let's take us for idiot, man. Literally. And the thing is, there's nothing we can do. Like, I'm not the guy who can tell you how we get this man out of the club, because no matter how much you do, I don't think it can happen. I think we're a family heirloom, and I know one day we'll be freed from these shackles, but I don't know when. So until then, I don't really have any expectations or hope as an Arsenal fan, people. So yeah, make of that what you will. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the article that AFC Bell has put out in relation to Szoboszlai, and also in relation to Aouar. I'm going to read it again, courtesy of Google Translate. If it sounds mad, it's not my fault. I don't speak Arabic, so I can only go off Google Translate, and I'm well aware that sometimes the sentences aren't going to make sense, people. But in relation to Szoboszlai and Aouar, long story short of it is, apparently Dominic Szoboszlai is someone we're going for in January, which everyone from Fabrizio Romano to the article I've just read to you guys about The Athletic is saying. And apparently Houssem Aouar is still a target for us in the summer. I hope it is. He's had a bit of a shaky start to the season. You know, if he had that banging season this season, which I thought was going to happen, we're probably out of them shackles. I'm not saying we can't get him, but you know, if he has a good season and goes off to France, that move will be patterned. If he has a shaky season like he's going on, other teams might sit on their hands and say, you know what, there's other areas to introduce, or maybe Lyon can command less money for him. I would love both. You know, let's just try and get one out over the line, because I'm pretty pessimistic on both. Again, the AFC Bell article, and you can read it yourself at www.afcbell.blogspot.com. It's obviously in Arabic. If you can speak Arabic, people, great. If you can't, like me, Google Translate that. And I apologize if Google Translate means the sentences aren't going to make sense. It has said, Arsenal aims a double solution in the next 2 transfer windows. Information for the AFC Bell. The club is inquiring about Dominic Szoboszlai and is preparing another round in the summer. Struggle with Houssem Aouar next summer. 40 days separate us from the winter transfer market, and a few months that transform us from the summer window. There are many variables and few constants. What is taken for granted at Arsenal is that the goal is clear, specific, and precise to add creative elements to the current squad. Edu Gaspar sang about Thomas Partey's deal and the great work he did behind the scenes to settle that deal, and he was right to do so. But as soon as the summer transfer window expired, he began to prepare for what is coming, the window of January and beyond. Work began in full swing to sign one or more names to support the shortcomings and weakness of the current team. And again, if you're an Arsenal fan, that's arousing your imagination. A source familiar with Arsenal's approach and system in selecting their goals in the transfer window told Arsenal Bell that the club led by Edu on the field had cut more than 80% of the way to sign its goals last summer. But February, how was this done? Arteta and Edu know the importance of reaching the goal early, sources say. The field scouts in advance and the video room and stat staff will most of the time make recommendations to Arteta and Edu, which makes sense considering stat DNA, and we've cut a lot of team and we've got more specialists who in turn choose the most appropriate and effective names for the club's current play, style, and philosophy. The next step is to send indirect messages to and from the named players' camp via an intermediary, a middleman, with a close relationship with the player and his team, or a former Arsenal player who has an acceptance in the player's environment. And I'm not going to read it out, but it also spoke about how Arsenal used Kanu in that regards to bring Partey to the club people. And then obviously when it says penalty clause, I think it means release clause, and I've skipped a bit, but it says before the club did the release clause on the 5th of October 2020, they were very critical and sensitive stages, such as the FA Cup final, in which Arteta battled brilliantly and presented a brilliant victory, which contributed to reserving a seat in Europa League, and loosening the screws a little from Arsenal's financial treasury, which the rest of the other clubs affected by the crisis couldn't do. That victory gave Arteta a balance of confidence in the meeting that took place the following Wednesday with contracting team and the club's management, where Thomas Partey's name was approved and Hossam Aouar appears as well. Stan Kroenke decided to support Arteta with his own method of appointing Tim Lewis, which we've just spoken about. Tim Lewis is Kroenke's trusted advisor, who helped reorganize the club's debts, freeing up more than 30 million cash reserves in the club's safe and approximately 10% of the interest paid to banks annually as part of the debt repayment agreement. This step almost saved the amount needed to pay Thomas Partey's penalty clause. So Tim Lewis has done some good work there, and along with Edu, and again, you've got the articles praised Kroenke to a degree. So whoever did what they needed to do to get Partey here, shout out to you lot. But he said Arsenal might have been able to sign Hossam Aouar with an offer close to that structure, but the move by Thomas Partey, in addition to being the move for goal one, is a move to preserve the weight of word and promises made by the club to various players in the future. After the club provided Thomas Partey and his surroundings with a guarantee, and Partey significantly refused any offer from any club in respect of the word of honor that brought together Edu and, it says Jose, I don't know who that is, people. The issue was more than just a passing deal. It's a deal that preserved the status and image of Arsenal in the orbit. Okay, I'm kind of lost, but yeah, man, we've given our word to Partey that would be done, and he's respected us. He said there were many reasons mentioned in the media about the reasons for the failure of Hossam Aouar's deal last summer. Many rumors circulated on social media about the greed of one of the players' relatives and his request for a huge sum as part of the deal to facilitate its conclusion. We did not have to call prayer inside the players' camp to inform us about some of these unknown details, but one of our sources in Thomas Partey's camp was telling us that the club told them that it was keen to sign Aouar and that the interest was serious, and one of the club's priorities was that, and that the Thomas Partey deal would be placed on the shelf. The shelf is a period of time so that the club can decide on Hossam's story first before closing the Thomas deal. We have hinted at that on more than one occasion. The message that was coming to us from our sort is that Thomas Partey's deal is settled, and we would not need to sell any players to provide liquidity. Rather, Aouar's deal is fundamentally dependent on selling one or two players, which did not happen. For this reason and other clues, and our primarily assessment of the situation, the Arsenal Bell crew decided to make Hossam Aouar the main file for next summer. There is no guarantee or assurance that the deal will happen 100%, but there are facts and well-documented reports last summer from France and information received by those we trust, at least a ray of hope. The player will be the focus of attention of several clubs next summer, and therefore it is expected that the deal will depend on a strong transfer budget guaranteed by qualifying for the Champions League or support by Stan Kroenke, or relying on considerable profits from the sale of some players. In all cases, this file will undoubtedly be active, but it is not succeed. The club will naturally have alternative plans. Is it too early to talk about moves in this file? Probably not. The pattern that Eddie followed is repetitive, and if so, he has started his chess game. So we haven't really learned anything, Naturally, if Arsenal wanted him, we're not going to go for him in January. As we already know, if you were going to go for him again, probably go for him in the summer. We know Champions League football can make or break the difference of us getting players, or it could be more of the same. We know we probably have to potentially sell players to somewhat generate funds. So far, I haven't learned anything new from this article. It does seem like a bit of a dream seller, really and truly. There's no solid information other than, based on the groundwork done last season, that Hossam Aouar will come. AFC Bell was spot on with Partey, so I'm inclined to believe them and whatnot. But just based on what I'm reading, I haven't learned anything new or seen anything to suggest that there's concrete interest beyond the fact of Arsenal will naturally try again. In relation, apparently they said we managed to reach one of those close to Hossam Aouar recently, which we were unable to do last summer, but we will not stop here, but rather we will continue to penetrate into the player surroundings so that we can provide you with good coverage when the time comes, God willing. Hopefully, man, you lot brought Partey's news to the equation, so don't be wrong about this, because so far it seems like this was a hype job, this article. Apparently, in the next January transfer window, which is only weeks away from us, the club aims to consolidate the current squad, especially in terms of building and creating opportunities. And given the scarcity of financial resources and scarcity of influential players in such a market, the available of Dominic Szoboszlai's option represents a golden opportunity for the club. Arsenal is very interested with the player's profile, and it is natural to see his penalty clause of 24 million that business agency office can confirm the arrival of an inquiry from Arsenal, who registered genuine interest in the player and open communication channels with his agent. So again, you know, we're seeing the feasibility of the deal. We're kind of getting, I guess, roughly what it might take to structure, you know, what would take, what is he looking for, what is the agent looking for, what is the player looking for, both in sporting and obviously monetary and stuff like that. We're putting the feelers out. We're seeing, can it be done in January? Can it be done at all? Now, if I'm Szoboszlai, I'd probably sit on, if a good opportunity comes, take it. But I'd probably wait, you know. I think people underestimate, stay in your current environments, you know. The pressure is there, but you know, there's no pressure immediately from Salzburg. Keep playing football. You're important. You're doing your thing for Hungary. As long as you keep performing in the Champions League and your league, people will come for you. He's playing for Hungary in the Euros as well. Probably wants his move sorted by then. So there's no need to move in January. Probably just stay to the end of the season. Now, that's if I'm him. If an opportunity comes that you can't resist, then obviously join. And as an Arsenal fan, I hope the deal can be done if we've reached out to his agents. Obviously, the article's then gone on to say AC Milan are still into him. Apparently, Leipzig are interested in him, and Real Madrid are on the case as well, people. So we'll have to see. The only other bit of relevance, you know, they said people close to him are pushing him to postpone a decision. Apparently, talks are in relation to Arsenal and his agent. Talks are in early stages, and Arsenal will, in ideal conditions, seek to convince the player to come in January. But Edu's ability to do so will be tested in coming days and weeks. The player is flattered as interest in a major club surfaced, and this is how he felt when he learned of Arsenal's inquiry. But the extent of the impact of the under-the-bridge offers described by one of the sources and presented by a German club, and it is believed that it's Bayern Munich in facilitating Dominic joining a friend club before moving. It's gone on to I'm not going to bore you people, but it's basically say, could he go to Leipzig and then move to Bayern Munich? It could be done. You know, that's the only thing Arsenal can look to offer him, in that you can come here, develop yourself, and Real Madrid and these clubs in 3 or so years, if they're in for you, you can leave, people. But there's too much, for me, there's too much speculation. And, you know, you have to say, you know, at the end of the day, you have to play football and not look at the media. But you look at Upamecano and Hossam Aouar, you know, they had good seasons last, well, not so much Aouar because it was a disappointing season for Lyon, but you know, they had okay seasons and they've started off weaker, and they've both linked with moves all summer, significant moves. How much has that played into their poor start of the season? I don't know. It could just be one of those things, but you have to wonder, people. So I'm not too sure. But again, I didn't learn much from that article. Everybody's been saying we're going to move for Szoboszlai in January. And I said it already. I just didn't fortunately learn anything there, unfortunately, people. Like it's quite upsetting, really and truly. I didn't learn a damn thing, but it is where it is in that regards, man. It is where it is. It is where it is. So yeah, man, we've spoken about Arsenal Leeds, you know, which I think my preview is actually out now. We've spoken about Arsenal Leeds. You know, we've spoken about Aston Villa, that game. We've spoken about the Kroenkes. We've spoken about Szoboszlai and Aouar. We've spoken about a lot here, folks, people, man. Let me get some questions in before we get out of here. Lionel Messi, my dude. Trust me, man. 50 pages in here that didn't like. Make sure you hit the like button, man. It doesn't cost a thing to like, people. Let me scroll up, because obviously I've been doing a lot of reading in this stream, people. Let me see what you lot are saying. Sorry about that, RJ. Just rewind it, man. You'll be there, man. You'll be there, man. That's the good thing about YouTube. The content ain't running nowhere. I've touched on that already. Just you're going to have to scroll back. What's my prediction for Liverpool versus Leicester? Sadly, I think City will lose to Spurs 2-1. I hope Spurs lose, of course, but I think City will lose that. I hope they win it. You know, Pep signed a new deal. For Leicester versus Liverpool, I think Liverpool will win, and I know they've got a bunch of injuries, so I'm keen to see. They're gonna have to be at their best. That's it. Probably both wrong, but it is what it is. Maybe will, but I mean that's the one constant variable. There's been different managers, different members of staff, and all of these sort of things. You know, one man has stayed. I don't think you can sit there and blame Kroenke for everything. Like, you know, you can't blame Aston Villa on him, us losing 3-0 and sit here talking about the Kroenke. But one thing's remained. Right now it's probably Gabriel, Partey, or Bukayo Saka. I was never the first to discover him, which you're not suggesting I am, but I do like to see these footballers and talk about them. And you can't be the first to know anyone. I know everybody in this industry claims they knows everything, but I have been on the Szoboszlai case for a while. So thanks for the little recognition there is, man. It means a lot, my dude, man. I suppose everyone believes they can fix the team. You know, everyone and their dad and their nan believes they can. So it is what it is. But no, man, he's out for this game. You know, Arteta didn't say he's out for longer than that. We'll just have to see, man. Man said he'll swap Salt Bay for Willian. Let's allow Willian, man. I think Willian can still be a decent option in this side, man. My guy, come on. Got someone who believes we're gonna win. Well, City's gonna win the Premier League. You know, and with some interesting words, we have to take a more humble approach. We know they're not the best, but we can give players a platform. That's it. You know, and many fans don't accept that. They want to say, we're Arsenal. I like Pepe, man. Out of 10, I'll give him a 5, but he is frustrating. Other questions have we got? Big up you lot, man. It's appreciated you lot been locked in. What have we got? Last question. Is it that Arteta's too demanding in terms of tactics? Probably. Maybe it is too structured in the final third and we haven't really got any flexibility and we don't really have any invention. You know, you have to give people freedom to do stuff. So probably, but it is what it is, man. It's been fantastic being here for what, hour and 26 minutes. It's been really fantastic being with you guys, man. So it is what it is. I've been here for a couple of hours. Admittedly, you know, the heat from the light is starting to play on me. It's beaming down on my head. So I'm going to keep it moving. But the good thing is, you know, not before too long, I'll be back again. You know, I've got a bunch of content. You know, I'm pretty sure if they're YouTube are giving you alerts, you're seeing it go like that today. So there's a bunch of content and I'll be back again before too long. Please make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure you check out the memberships. Please make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. But more importantly than that, please stay safe, man, and stay safe. And I'll be back again. And before I wanted to look off the thing, we've got some praise. Means a lot, my guy. Thank you very much for taking it in, my guy, man. It means the world. Big up Vegas for those $2, man. It means the world, man, that you departed with that. Thank you very much for your praise, my guy. It means a lot, man. The real Gunnerly, apologies, man, for making you missed it, but I'll be back again. But as I said, people, thank you for tuning in. I'll be back again. Check out the content that's already out. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Hopefully Arsenal get a win against Leeds. I'm out.